By the early 80s, a group of passionate URA architects, myself as the head of urban design, and my team members comprising of William Ong, Koh-Lim Wen, Tan Mong Heng, Tan Keng Ling, Goh So Mui, Chow Fong Ling, Lo Chui Lai, together with Goh Hap Chaw, but I'm sad to say they are all no longer in URA. So together with Goh Hap Chaw and our immediate supervisor, Liu Tai Ke, in his capacity as board member, observed that our city was losing its identity and that there was an urgent need to integrate the conservation of our built heritage as part of city planning. So that was the start of conservation. We also observed that preservation and conservation of isolated monuments and buildings in itself was not enough to create a city with its own identity and character. We felt that it was critical to retain entire historic districts with their rich history, architectural style, and ambience. Only then can the city come alive and exert its individuality. So in 1982, when the government decided to proceed with a MRT railway system, under the strong leadership of Hap Chaw, the team quickly seized the opportunity to carry out a comprehensive review for the central area. We thus prepared an urban design structure plan for the city centre. The plan recommended suitable locations for high-density, high-rise developments along the MRT route and MRT stations, the conservation of significant historic districts, and hill parks as lungs for the city centre. This led to the formation of the 1985 structure plan, which was adopted to guide the growth of a central area over the next 2 decades, but it was reviewed and massaged continuously. Now, come mid-80s, things began to change rapidly. This change was probably brought about by 4 key factors, which fortunately took place around the same time. It gave the URA's architects, planners, and policy makers the confidence to proceed with conservation on a comprehensive scale. Now, in the interest of time, I will skip these 4 key factors. We can discuss during panel discussion. Now, fortunately, in fact, the historic districts were under rent control. And although the precinct plan that Alan showed earlier on, they were all supposed to demolish, but rent control held them back, and we jumped in timely. Now, after 3 years of hard work from 1982 to 85, Hap Chaw roped in Teng Chai to help craft several policy papers for submission to the government. As you know, Teng Chai is a president scholar, he can write well. We architects cannot write well, so it was a great help to us. We just draw, And as you know, Teng Chai was CEO and Chief Planner of URA from 92 to 96. We had a good time working with him. Finally, in 1985, we started 82, and in 85, we obtained the government's approval to conserve 10 historic districts. But the story does not end there, because in between another 4 years, URA had to hard sell and convince the owners of shophouses the importance and value of conservation. So it was only in 89 that we have the area protected under the URA Act. So the whole journey took 7 years, and it continued. Now, having obtained the government's approval to conserve 10 historic districts, it was not enough to us. We wasted no time and continued to rework several areas that we identified earlier as significant, but we were unable to obtain approval to conserve. These street blocks were located at locations adjacent to new high-rise developments, and hence the loss of development potential was an issue. So over a period of another trying 3 years, 89 to 92, we worked hard and worked smart to search for alternative solutions. Our happy hours from 6 to 9 p.m. was not at the park. It was in the office. And I think Chanyan is here. She was a member of the conservation team. She can remember that. We will brainstorm, rework, and then, wow, we came up with a creative win-win solution of an integrated old and new approach. Those you see now happening in Liangxia Street, Purvis Street, Geylang, Chuchet. Because we feel that this approach do not require to conserve the entire building because they are located immediately in front of high-rise development. So this approach requires only the front main building to be conserved, and the rear service block can be demolished and redeveloped to a height that does not compromise the scale of the building to be conserved. and as viewed from the street. So this approach allows majority of a property to realize its full development potential. Now, while this approach seems simple at first glance, implementing this approach meant that we had to carry out detailed simulations for each and every one of the 1,900 shophouses to test what is the maximum gross floor area, GFA, achievable. You know, in those days, the developer owners only talk about GFA. Give me more GFA. Now, this was done to ensure that majority of the units would be able to realize the allowable GFA so that they can be happy to conserve. So finally, after 1,900 simulations later, in 1992, we obtained the government's approval to conserve an additional 5 areas. Later on, we applied this same approach to other heritage areas.